Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ross Patterson Revolution! Brought to you by GhostBed.com.
Ditch the gas station energy drinks and overpriced coffee. Cardomax Energy Intensifier will give you will give you the clean, great tasting boost your day needs. I clearly need it right now. Owned and operated by former Navy SEAL Sean Matson, Cardomax Energy Intensifier is packed with B3, B6, and B12 vitamins, caffeine, and BCAAs to keep you dialed in throughout your day. Use the promo code Nooners to get 30% off your next 4 orders at cardomax.com. That's cardomax.com.
Helping you
achieve your max. We're all at max level right now, right? We need to have a little Cardomax. Welcome to Ross Patterson Revolution. It's Jesse. You guys know what's up. I'm not going to talk about it. Everything's fine. That's it. That's the show now. So what's up? We have a special guest with us today, fellow Nooner, host of... What? Don't shake your head. Host of Tailgate Legends and Failure to Stop, a Tetherball Academy, whatever, colleague. What's up, buddy? Tansey.
What's
Eric
going on?
Tansey.
I'm so nervous.
No, you aren't, dude. You're a fucking pro at this point. You can't use that like, I'm so nervous thing anymore because it's like, I get it. It's cute. But you're a pro now, okay? We're done. We're done with this. Yeah.
This is RPR. This is different.
This
I got a haircut.
Different.
I got a haircut
you?
25 minutes ago.
Really?
For today's show, yeah.
Gosh, I cannot tell. But good for you. Is it just on the sides?
I just said, don't make me look like a lesbian.
Yeah, you keep that front pretty shaggy, which I like. Very skater chic. So anyways, we are, as you guys can tell from the title, we're going to talk about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. It says Kyle Rittenhouse trial for dummies because I'm going to be the dummy. You on Failure to Stop did like a 3-hour breakdown, so we don't need to do a whole thing. I'm pretty sure everyone is pretty up to speed. They are still doing deliberations right now. I think we both have it on live. You?
Yeah, I'm watching it right now.
Do you think that we're going to get anything today? No.
If we do, it'll be, my guess is around 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay. So, we're not going to, look, you never know. We could get breaking news on the show, but probably not. I would think they have to deliberate for longer. I guess if it's quick, then we know what the answer is. But
the Chauvin trial, they deliberated very quickly.
Exactly. Then you knew the outcome because they were so quick, right? So pretty standard. If they're very quick, it's going to be guilty. When it's not guilty, they kind of deliberate for longer, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I don't know.
You're right. You're right.
I just sort of say things sometimes without really even knowing if it's right. But that's just my whole vibe, I just kind of talk. And then you guys will let me know if I'm right or wrong. But I do want to talk about a couple pop culture stuff in the beginning because it is RPR. So we got to at least talk about the things that went on this weekend. First, Britney's free, whatever. Again, we've said on the show, right, guys? I feel like she's been free a bunch.
Right.
Oh, she's freed. Oh, the trial where she's going to be free.
Yeah.
Oh, the dad's out. So I think this time, can we be done with it?
Yeah.
Do you think she's really free?
And now it's like the Joker meme. Here we go.
Go. Right.
Yeah.
And I just get popcorn and I wait, right? I wait to be right. Go ahead.
I feel like her freedom is kind of like the Ghost Bed flash sale.
Sure.
Like it just keeps going and going and going. She's always free.
Exactly. The flash
Always
sale
40%.
or like even the veteran sale. I bet they kept that going. I don't know. But like they're very good at being like, oh, this week only, but actually next week too. So
Right.
You're absolutely right. And I do think, I mean, I've gotten to the point, I was very opinionated in the beginning about it. I'm just like, you guys, she can't be free. I mean, this is crazy. But I've gotten to the point now that her kids are older. You know, she's not really going to be hurting anyone but herself. So have at it, girl. Do you know what I mean? You have the right to go crazy, to do whatever you want, to ruin your life. It was when you had young kids that I'm actually glad there was some conservatorship in place. And I think it went for the right amount of time where her kids, I know they're 16 about, I don't know if they're quite 18.
They're old enough to threaten to kill their grandpa.
Right. They're old enough to be little shits, right? That are like saying their own things, doing their own things. Their mom can't really fuck them up too bad at this point, right? 16, 17, again, they look like grown-ass dudes. So it was in place for, I think, a good reason for the kids, for a good amount of time. Now she's free. Good for her. I'm just, I'm here for the show. Do you know what I mean? So please, Britney, right? Do what? OnlyFans? What do you think?
I think she's got to go OnlyFans. And here's my question. Say she does go, I mean, I don't know. I know it's going to be one thing. I called it before Christmas. I said she either does a leaked nudie, a leaked sex tape, or an OnlyFans. Mm-hmm. And I told my wife, I said, listen, if she goes OnlyFans and it's a premium subscription, I'm 100% subscribing.
Well, here's the
What?
$1.99.
Here's the
I'm
thing.
doing it.
To who?
It's not a problem because it's for work.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Are you
Okay.
saying for Britney? You would subscribe?
Yeah, I'm subscribing. If she
Okay,
comes out
yeah,
with an
yeah, yeah.
OnlyFans,
Oh,
I
for
am
sure.
100% subscribing.
For sure. It's like a nostalgic kind of, nostalgic porn is a thing. You know what
It
I
is.
mean?
If there's a sex tape, I'm watching it. If there's nudes,
For
I'm
sure.
looking at them.
For sure.
And I just fair warning, honey. If you're watching this today,
Yeah.
you already know.
But luckily, I mean, your wife is just so cool that she's like, all right, you didn't even have to tell me, really.
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm
like,
like, you
I
want to
don't
see it?
fucking-
She's like, no.
No, I'm good. Like, I really don't care. You're like, well, I just want to let you know if you're going to get jealous. And she's like, I don't. And you're like,
Yeah, she's
well,
like-
do you ever want her to get jealous sometimes?
I think sometimes I bait her into getting jealous.
know you do.
I'll
That's what I'm
I'll
saying.
tell her like some things and like, but you know what? Just to show any emotion, really. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I
She
want to
is
see.
very like cool, calm, and collected, right?
She's
You
like
wanna-
April Ludgate on Parks and Rec.
She
Like
is.
that's the closest character that I've ever found to her.
She is. I never realized that.
Yep, she's
But
like
I
a
think-
real life.
I think that's why I ask is because you'll tell her everything. Even like we were at a bar and this girl was like hitting on me. I didn't do anything, and I was like, "What? Why?" But it's probably because you're like, "Come on,
Yeah.
a little spice."
I went to an orgy accidentally for Halloween.
What?
Yeah, this is a real story. I went to a party, and it was like an influencers only party, and it had to be an invite. And I'm not an influencer, but somehow I got intermixed with these folks and got to know them, and they actually invited me to a party.
In
They bought a
Clayton?
lot. No, not in Clayton.
Okay.
But they bought a lot of my rum, and they had like this private Instagram for it, the whole 9 yards. And I get a message on my Instagram about it, and my wife, she sees all my Instagram because she's mainly the one that responds to everybody. She calls me and she says, "Hey, did you see about this party thing on Are You Going to Go?" And I said, "Absolutely not. It's Halloween night. It's like, the Friday before Halloween. I got a lot of things going on."
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Well, they bought a bunch of your rum. I think you need to go." And I said, "Yeah, honey, did you look at all the posts? This thing looks like it's going to be like a big
Raunchy.
nudie, raunchy,
yeah.
kind of weird thing." And she's like, "Babe, it's fine. Like, just go, make face, and then get the fuck out. And what's the problem?" And I was like, "Look, if you're telling me to go to this raunchy party, I'm going to go. But I have a feeling it's going to be more than what you think it is." And she's like, "And I think you're overthinking it." So I went. You had to turn in your phone at the door and sign a waiver, a non-disclosure form. What? And I get in, and the guy invites me in the kitchen. They had lobster. They had lots of like
Tansey.
shrimp.
This is a decadent orgy.
Tansey.
It was dope.
Oh, I'm so nervous. He's
Yeah.
like going to fucking Jake
This
Paul's
isn't
house.
some slop fest.
Yeah, come on. Please. I've
And,
never had to sign anything when I go to a party ever. Okay,
Like, it was
go.
wild. And I'm standing downstairs. This woman comes up, and she's completely nude from the top down.
Fun.
And she's got body paint on. And she offers me like some of the like cocktail shrimp. And
Oof.
I took
Weird
one, and she was like,
combo.
she's like, where are you from? I'm like, Clayton. She's like, oh. And then we started having this whole conversation. And all I can think about is like, why? I can't believe we're just having a normal conversation. You're completely naked.
Right. Painted, holding shrimp. It's a whole thing.
I knew my face was like bright red. And then the guy comes over to me that's running the party. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he's like, hey, I don't want you to be offended, but I'm sure you can probably hear some things. And I was like, yeah, is that, you guys got like a porno going on upstairs or something? Like, is there like a porn going on? He's like, no, there's actually an orgy upstairs. And I was like, oh, that is exactly what that sounds like. And he's like, well, I just didn't want you to be offended. I was like, no, I'm fine. He's like, you're more than welcome to go up there. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'll stay down here.
So you went up there.
And no, I stayed down for a little while. I stayed for like 30 minutes. The guy comes over to me and he's like, man, I feel like everything's awkward for you. And I just want to apologize. I probably should have let you know earlier. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I was like, I'm actually just going to finish this beer and get out. And he's like, well, I just brought you another beer. And I was like, oh, shit.
Was it opened already?
It was already opened.
Whoopsie daisy, whoopsie daisy. Don't do it.
I like his complete disregard for the NDA that he had to sign.
Yeah.
Did you sign it? Now look, he's not naming names. He's not saying, who it was or even where it was. So
no, this is all for RPR. I can care less.
No, you're not naming names. Go ahead.
And actually, I did not sign the NDA. The guy handed me a piece of paper and I gave him my phone. I gave my keys. I did like the whole jacket, like take my jacket off and I just slid right on by. I never even signed the paper, but I got inside and then he was like, I had the drink in my hand. And then the guy was like, would your wife be offended if you just went upstairs and took a look? And I was like, to be honest with you, I think my wife would be offended if I didn't. Like if I went home and I told her this story and then I said, I just left, she would be like, you didn't go upstairs to see it?
Yes, he doesn't know your wife, right?
Right, he doesn't know my wife.
He doesn't know your wife. But at the same time, I feel uncomfortable a little bit with this guy really, really wanting you to go up there.
It sounds like he's trying to seduce
wanting,
Yeah,
exactly.
He wanted Tansey in there.
I don't know if that's where it's going, but I'm just letting you know that's the uncomfortable
He's
feeling.
overly friendly, bringing drinks, apologizing. Is everything okay? Everything okay?
And look, bro, it's chill.
Yeah,
like trying to make you real comfortable with it. Go up or don't. But do you want to? Do you know what I mean?
Do you want to? And I'm glad
Why
he did
not
because
just stay downstairs? Okay, go
you
ahead.
can only stand downstairs for so long hearing all the ruckus up there and not be like, oh, I'd really like to see. I've never seen an orgy. I'm not even sure that I've watched an orgy porn before.
Yeah, I don't like.
Like I always skip over those. I've never like zoomed in on one of those.
I get very distracted.
Yeah, there's too much going on.
I like
too much going on.
Focused situation.
To be there in that moment, I was like, well, I think I wanted to see it. And in my brain, I was thinking like maybe like 3 or 4 people upstairs fucking. And there were some like big name Instagrammers there that I have followed for a while that have, almost 1 million plus followers probably on Instagram. So I was already kind of blown away by some of these ladies.
You can tell me.
Seeing them in real life, I was like starstruck. But I did not think any of them would be involved in an orgy. So I went upstairs and it was probably like 50 people. And the smell, it was the smell of body odor, sweat, and burnt latex. And
why burnt latex?
It just
the friction,
the rubbers, the friction, it just smelled like dirty, nasty condoms. I was only up there for maybe 45 seconds looking, and I can remember every position and every place that somebody was at in that room. It's burned into my brain. But
what
the smell was so
yeah.
The smell was so bad that I actually covered my beer with my hand.
So it didn't yep.
But I didn't even drink the beer. Like I was so disgusted by the smell of the orgy that I was like, dude, I'm not drinking this beer. Like all that.
Well, I was going to tell you even before you did that, when the creepy guy that's really, really wanting you to see the orgy brings you an open beer, we don't take it, right?
Right.
So I was going to already say, don't drink that beer. You're a grown man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you can get your own, you can open your own beer. We don't need orgy guy to bring us beers, right?
We don't.
I got it, bro. Yeah.
And I got up there. I looked around. This girl stands up, completely nude. I don't know what she was doing, but she was on the ground and she stood up. Mm-hmm. And she said, hey, you have your clothes on. I was like, I do. She's like, I don't know where my boyfriend is. And I was like, ugh. So I walk out. She follows me.
Longer than 45 seconds. But it's okay.
No, it was 45 seconds. I walk out.
You had a full conversation with someone.
She comes out in the hallway and she's like, do you know where my boyfriend is? I was like, I don't know your boyfriend. And she was like, well, my boyfriend and I came up here together, but I think he's fucking somebody else. And I was like, oh, I'm sure he is, actually.
Right. Did you tell her that's how it works?
I did. I said, is this your
Okay.
first orgy? And she said, it is. And she's like, will you come in and help me find my boyfriend? I was like, absolutely not. I'm actually late. I have to get home. And,
You've really learned a lot because the old Tansey, I think, would have gone in there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
if I wasn't
helped
tired-
because you are very. That's just you. You're like, all right. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna help, I'll help. And you would be like stepping over the naked people. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And helping.
Is there
her.
a Jonathan in here?
Yeah,
Is there a Jonathan?
The old Tansey would have done that. So I'm really proud that you were just like, ma'am, figure your shit out.
I've been studying a case where a man tried to go to a different city and help out, and it just ended horribly. So I just said, you know
Sure.
what? I'm not going to help out anymore. I'm done with this bullshit.
I got you.
I'm out. So
I
I
got you.
left. I went downstairs. The dude's wife came and she was like, did you go upstairs? Did you see it? And I was like, oh, yep, I did. I went up there and I saw it. And she's like, it's a sight to see, isn't it? And I was like, yes, it really was. And she's like, don't worry. We have full discretion here. We're not going to say anything to anyone. And I was like, are you talking like about my wife? Because honestly, I went up there just to see that for my wife.
God, what a shit show.
And,
this sounds like an absolute fucking nightmare.
It was
Tansey.
nice. So I got home and my wife's already asleep. And I woke her up. I was like, you got to wake up. You got to wake up. And she was like, what? And I was like, it was a fucking orgy. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I know we were kidding. And I know we were joking, sending texts back and forth about having fun at the orgy, but it was a real life orgy. And it was like 50 people. And she shot up out of bed and she was like, oh my God, are you serious? And then like we talked for like 30 minutes. Then it got to an awkward silence. And she was like, so do you need to have sex before we go to sleep or are you good? And I was like, no, I definitely have to have sex right now.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say.
So yeah, we had sex and went right back to sleep.
God.
That was my orgy story.
You have like the perfect relationship. We were talking about relationships before. It really is just, I mean, you can't
It's not too
stop.
perfect. We have 4 fucking kids.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't stop having kids. You have sex all the time. She's cool as shit. She's telling you to go to orgies. She's all about the business. I will say that. Like
Yeah.
if you were like, hey babe, I've got to have sex with this person just for the instill, she'd be like,
Yeah.
you got to do it.
You gotta go, honey. You gotta.
Look, it's
I
for
think
the
she draws her
business.
line. I think she would draw the line.
Well, see
somewhere.
where it's
She's
at.
got to.
See where it's
I've
at.
tried. I've tried.
Push it. Just
Yeah,
see.
I always do.
Yeah, the orgy wasn't one. The orgy wasn't a line. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
keep it going. Anyways,
How far
we're
can we
going to
go?
talk about we need to talk about Taylor Swift really quick, and then we're going to get into this Rittenhouse trial. I'm super excited
We
about
can
it.
just have Tansey tell stories for another 2 hours.
I know, right?
God, yeah, he stumbles into an orgy.
But that's what
is your
happens.
life,
Like,
man?
I will say, I don't want to keep harping on it, but that's what happens when your partner or whatever is like, go.
Yeah.
Then you get to like do shit and have these crazy stories. Like,
Yeah, but I think the point is like I've never fucked up. Like I've never cheated on her. I've never like.
For sure,
I've
but
never
that's
done
not-
anything like.
that's not
I've never
the point of
gone
doing any of
overboard.
this stuff, right? It's like, I don't want to cheat on anybody either. I just want to go and have some like weird
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, you're
right?
you're just Forrest Gumping it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just want to go.
want the stories.
Yes. But anyway.
But I did not know it was going to be an orgy. Like full on, had no. Like we joked, but like I didn't think those really happened.
I guess
outside of
that's
porn.
true, right? Even like swingers, I'll be like, but they're not. It's not really a swingers party, right? You know,
Right.
like they're kind of have a weird vibe. They're not really swingers, but they end up being. So, anyways, we do need to talk about Taylor Swift really quick. You know, Britney's free, Paris is married. Taylor Swift's Red album came out again. I cannot bring myself to listen to it. A, because I do not give a shit, and B, I just can't.
The best way to troll white women now is to just go into a brunch and be like, yo, put on some Taylor Swift, scooter tracks only.
Scooter tracks only.
Yeah.
That would be me because I'm the
Yeah.
anti-feminist, right? So I'm just like, from the beginning of this whole situation, you know, Taylor's library of songs, the Red album or anything before that was on sale. It happens all the time. It's not something that like, you know, the patriarchy is doing. It's really just something that happens all the time.
It happened to the Beatles.
Exactly.
Like
it
5
happens
times.
all the time in the music industry. That's sort of just how it works. You know, it's old school, but it's just what it is. And so Scooter, it was up for sale. I think it was like $300 million. She had a chance to buy it.
Right.
She
Literally.
doesn't talk about that, but she
Right.
had a chance, just like everyone else. This is what it is for sale. Do you want to buy your catalog back? We know you fucking have it.
Right.
No, she didn't.
And by the way, this happened to the Beatles multiple times. The exact same situation happened between Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson.
Absolutely.
Over the Beatles catalog.
Absolutely.
Not saying it's right. Just saying it happens.
No. And I will say this too. I think Scooter Braun could have put Taylor Swift songs in like shitty ass commercials everywhere if he wanted to. Am I right or wrong? Like he could put it in like a herpes commercial.
100%.
Shake it off,
Never
itch it off,
getting back together.
something,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Something like that, or the new HIV pill or something.
Yeah.
And he could have put it Burger King, McDonald's, like he literally could have sold it everywhere. He did not. But I think he's making a good amount.
Yeah.
I think he's fine. But anyway, so she did not buy it back. She decided to mobilize her army, which is impressive at best, right? The Swifties.
Yeah, they're everywhere. My wife is a Swiftie.
She is?
For sure. But she's not on social media, really. So.
No, she's not like getting mad at Miles Teller because he's not vaccinated, right?
No.
No, she's not one of those.
No, she's not the hardcore.
She likes Taylor Swift. Look, and if you have ears, you know, there's got to be one song that you kind of like. Just be honest. I know Dan's going to say no, but deep down I know there's...
No,
Thank you.
there's a song.
There's a song, right?
Yeah, there's a few.
He's feeling 22.
Oh, yes, he loves to
It's
feel
not that one.
22.
It's not that one.
It's not that one. But anyway, so...
I bet it's from the album 1989.
Ooh.
That was her best album.
That is.
Yeah,
That is her
he
best
says yes. Tansey. Psychic Tansey strikes again. So, anyways, so then she came out with, she mobilized when just like the patriarchy is keeping me down. They stole my songs. They stole my album. And people that don't understand the industry are like, oh my God, how can this happen? And so she really worked it. As she always has, even with the Kanye thing. She's a snake in the grass. She's a businesswoman. She's a stone cold bitch. And that's the reason she is where she is, along with her talent, right? It's not just like, oh my gosh, you guys.
I mean, she's on her way to being, you don't get that rich without being that way.
Thank you.
Any rich person.
Anything.
Like don't like on the one hand think like Elon Musk is rad and then be mad at Taylor Swift for
Absolutely right.
being a fucking snake too.
Look, we all want money, right? There's
Right.
certain things we have to choose not to do, right? If we wanted to, we could maybe have a bunch of money, but we're not going to do it unless the opportunity really presents itself. And then our conscience will have to, you know what I mean? But anyway, so she is where she is. She has the money that she has. She has everything that she has because she has curated her entire life, business, everything. And so she put out this album. I think the main thing that's coming out about it is the Jake Gyllenhaal. The Jake Gyllenhaal of it all. Again, I don't really care. It's the same songs that I've heard. I don't need to hear Taylor's new version of them. I don't think. I'm sure your wife listens.
Yeah, well, she's been listening to it nonstop. There are a bunch of new tracks.
Okay, on top of the other.
It's like stuff that didn't make the album.
Sure.
It's like double the length of the first Red. There's like twice as many songs.
Right.
And there's some good ones. Ones that I was like, how'd this not make the album?
I'm sure. It's Taylor Swift.
Right.
Every song is going to be fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it is. So that's not really the issue. The issue is more all the other stuff that comes from it, right?
Why are we dunking on Jake Gyllenhaal a decade later?
Seriously.
And Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't give a fuck.
He shouldn't. I would hate for him to give a fuck about this.
There's no way he does.
There's no way he does. So they said, Jake Gyllenhaal steps out. He just went to dinner.
Right.
Okay? He's not stepping out after he's like literally just still living his life. And people are like, Jake Gyllenhaal steps out after the Red album. And he's like, doesn't care. It was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. It was like somebody was saying it was like maybe like a week long, maybe a 2 week long.
I think it was almost a
relationship.
year, actually.
A year.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that long.
It was not. I don't think it hit the full year mark, but I think it was long enough.
It wasn't serious to him.
It
Well,
wasn't serious to him.
it was
She was
Jake.
20.
Yeah.
I think it was probably a lot more serious to her.
Did you watch the short film?
I mean, Bob, I literally cannot bring myself. I know I should. It's 10 minutes. But I cannot bring myself to do it.
So
I just don't fucking care.
She wrote and directed the short film, and she portrays a fight that her and Jake had
At a party.
in the middle of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And this caused me and my wife to get into a heated debate over who was
fight.
right.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
like
it
I
caused
love
a
that
fight.
she's starting fights. Yeah.
Because, and it literally, like, I'm going to say exactly what happened, and there's no way a rational person can think that Taylor Swift was in the right. They were at a party with Jake's friends
Okay.
that he hadn't apparently seen in years. This is according to Taylor's version of things.
Right. And is it a big party?
It's like a
or
dinner
is-
party.
Okay.
It's
and
a
it's
dinner
like
party.
old friends,
Yeah.
not super celebrity from what I remember of the actual party. It was just like, yeah. But go ahead.
And they were catching up, and essentially she was mad that she like tried to hold his hand, and he was like, "Oh yeah, babe, hey," and like went back to being like big charming Jake Gyllenhaal. And then she was just like, "You didn't pay enough attention to me," and he was like, "I haven't seen these people in fucking
Yep.
years. Why didn't you? You can talk. You
Yep.
say."
I've broken up with people for that exact fucking thing.
Yeah.
The other way, where I'm like, if you don't let me just fucking hang out for one, exactly that. If you haven't seen someone in a while or a big group, like just let me chill for a second.
Yeah.
And don't, it's like needing to like have your attention at all times. Can't do it.
Yeah. And then she portrays the argument, and I was like, I don't think she meant to write this to make Jake win the argument, but this is like, this guy's
But he's
100% right.
But he's winning.
Yeah.
Stop
and she
bringing
was-
the Midwest to Texas, Bob. This is a complete like Midwest argument that you're having right now.
But what did your wife say?
She was just like, no.
Oh, that he was, okay.
It's-
That Jake was being a dick.
Yeah. She was like, he's a dick. And I was like, no.
From what I hear, he kind of was, but God, I never even know how those high-powered relationships work anyways, when they're both super busy and everywhere they go, people see them and shit. And so how often did they actually hang out? Like, don't you think you would have gotten pictures of it every single time?
Those seem awesome.
Oh, exactly. But I'm just saying, like, there's not, how do you get super close? You know what I mean? You're not really hanging out that much. Correct? I mean, he's doing
guess.
movies, she's
Yeah, you don't know
touring.
a lot of
Like,
time.
We're both contributing to the relationship. This is terrible.
look, I'm hearing a lot of your own shit right there. But, no, I'm just joking. But no, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, she could probably chill. I mean, like, do you know what I mean? It's not a normal relationship where you're spending every second together and then all of a sudden you go to a party and it's like, hey man, what the fuck, right?
Right.
It's sort of like what they very sporadically see each other.
You
I
would
don't
think
fucking
so.
know.
I mean, I don't know how often. You got to think that she was maybe working with him. I'd have to check his IMDb from 10 years ago.
I think, now listen, at that time, 20, when Taylor Swift was 20 years old, she was fucking busy as shit, right?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. She could barely see him and he's kind of like, okay, like I make movies every once in a while. I make an independent film.
Right.
Jake?
Yeah.
No, Jake makes a lot of movies.
When he was 29, he wasn't.
So he's got like, he literally has a gap from 2007 to 2009 where he's not in anything. Mm-hmm. And
Then
then
he goes on a run.
he's got, between 2009 and 2011, he did 1, 2, 3, 4 movies.
Were they independents?
I'm sorry. One of these was a music video. So okay, yeah. So, no, Brothers was like that stupid movie where him and Tobey Maguire were together as brothers or whatever. Then Prince of Persia. So he was doing Prince of Persia while they were dating, probably. So he could have been pretty busy, actually, with that one. That's a big studio picture.
And ripped. I think he was ripped then.
Yeah,
too.
she got fucking ripped, Jake, for this.
He did Source Code.
Source Code and Love and Other Drugs. So actually,
Oh,
which is a great movie.
great movie. And then the actress that she's talking about is
that-
Anne Hathaway.
Ugh, good Lord.
Now, again, do I love the juice? Kind of. But I really, cannot care enough.
What's your favorite Gyllenhaal movie? We'll start with Tansey.
Brokeback Mountain.
Bubble Boy. Bubble Boy, I love. And then the one with Jennifer Aniston. Which one was that? I think it was called, they work at, a grocery store.
Oh,
And she's
good
like the
girl.
good
good
girl.
girl. Yeah. And she's like older and hooks up with him. I'm a big fan of Nightcrawler.
Oh, yeah,
I
it
was
was
going to throw
fucking...
that out there, yeah.
Nightcrawler was
Nightcrawler's
good. I would say that was the first time where I was like, oh, this guy's good. Before that, I'm like, you're cute, and your sister got you the part, and I'm happy for you, and you're good enough. Oh, wait, fucking Donnie Darko.
Demolition.
I think Donnie
Donnie
Darko's
Darko's a good one.
Really?
So
I
overrated.
love Donnie Darko.
It's because everybody likes it. That's why.
It's every like high school kid. I'm into film now. Have you seen Donnie Darko? Have you heard of this movie? And it's
That
just
is
like,
very film school kid.
yeah,
It was,
it's fucking,
but look, at that time it was. But like it was good.
it's fine.
You guys can go
Objectively, what?
If you don't like it, you can just go suck a fuck.
And how
How does one suck a fuck?
you know, because you go to orgy parties all the time. But
you saw.
I really
yeah,
like
I stayed in there for
Demolition.
45 seconds.
Demolition, because his wife dies and then he just doesn't care.
Shit, yeah. He does good shit, right? Okja,
Southpaw.
yes,
Oh yeah,
yes.
that was a good one too.
No, I mean,
Maybe Brokeback is not my favorite.
look, he was. I mean,
his Mysterio in the latest Spider-Man series.
He was
Oh
great.
yeah,
in
and he was in End of Watch.
End of Watch is great. Jarhead.
oh shit,
Great movie.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
Jarhead.
shit, yeah, Jarhead.
End of Watch is a great movie.
Jarhead. He was actually jacked like for most of that time from 2007 to Prince of Persia. So she got like peak Jake because you remember Jake fucking in Jarhead at the beginning.
Yeah,
Gives
Yeah.
a jackhammer.
yeah. But I also think of Taylor Swift kind of as like an Olivia Munn, where maybe it's her. We don't know. She can't keep it. She can't keep him.
It's definitely her.
Yeah.
She's completely Olivia Munn. I don't just. Is it bad that I still have hope for Olivia Munn?
No, you should. I like Lydia.
She's fine. Literally, everyone likes her. Every guy is like, I don't care how crazy she is. I'll fucking take it.
Exactly.
Although with Taylor Swift, I don't think it's the same. You know what I mean?
I'm mad at what she did to Taylor Lautner, to be honest.
Which one? Oh, Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Taylor Lot. I'm mad at her too because that's just like predatory. Not in a like a pedophile way or anything. 'Cause
Sure.
they're both of age. Just predatory in that like she's too conniving and he's too dumb. It's
He's
not
so
fair.
dumb.
It's not fair for
yeah.
her
Yeah, no,
to be in a relationship with him.
exactly.
It's basically like a puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, you want me now? Oh, no more? Okay, I leave.
The Taylor Lautner, I think I was too old.
That I mean, he had to be just like a dildo to her.
Right.
Just a living sex doll.
Yeah. And I think he was like younger, pretty young too.
Well, he was famous when he was young. He was like those
So he was-
spiky-haired.
They were in
boy kids.
Valentine's Day together. So
Oh,
that's,
yeah. He was down for whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good for her. You know, she's really sticking it to the man. I actually love how quiet Scooter has been through this entire thing.
He's just printing money. He's probably making a killing off
does
of
not-
people clicking on the wrong album.
Thank you. He's fine, right? He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And you can't go against the Swifties, right? So you might as well just hide until it all blows over.
Have to just sit in his mansion.
Sit in his mansion, counting his
weather it
money.
out, yeah.
Okay, Scooter's fine, Taylor's fine, everybody's fine. It's business, and that Stone Cold bitch got hers. So good for her.
Does she become like? What is Taylor Swift when she's Britney Spears' age?
Teaching her cat how to give her CPR. I don't know.
No, she's got a guy.
She's got a guy for now. She has a guy for now, but I think at a certain point she's gonna need a life alert, or she needs to teach her cat
She's gonna own a bunch of
to
restaurants.
dial 911. Yeah. So anyway, she's gonna be fine though. She's gonna have money. She can buy her friends. All right. So, Tansey, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Let's get into this. Let's get into
Yeah, let's
this,
do it.
guys. Let's get
go.
into the Kyle Rittenhouse of it all. So today, we're not going to do a breakdown again. I'm sure everyone by this point
Yeah, if you don't know.
has caught up, right? You're not watching every second of the trial, which I think you watched a lot of it, right?
Yeah, like 80%.
Okay.
I've had an earpiece in, a little Raycon earbud in.
And what people don't understand when they watch like Law and Order, actual trials are very boring.
yeah.
Lots of like semantics, lots of, back and forth, asking the same question over and over. So to listen to it is, something that kind of we need people like you to do because I cannot handle it. Although I will say the judge is super fun, such a mess. I mean, he seems so nice.
He's got a lot of common sense. He's like definitely one of those judges I would love to have gone up on the stand with
Right.
because he doesn't allow and in this case, it's the prosecution, but normally it's kind of the other way around. I've always thought that trials have been very unfair because of how usually a defense, in this case, the prosecution, retards the case.
Yeah.
That it makes it so confusing that the jury's like, I honestly don't know what the fuck. So guilty. You know what I mean?
Sure.
This judge is not allowing that to happen. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, he is cool. He is very like, what was he say? He was saying yesterday, just like, I want to make sure that the jury gets entertainment, and was like asking them like, hey, can they watch movies? Just like making sure. I don't know. He's just so cute. So,
Yeah, because like the redundancy. So he asked at the beginning of the trial yesterday, before they went into talking to the jury and giving their final closing statements, the judge has to give instruction. And so the judge was like, hey guys, before we do this, before we bring the jury in here, do I need to really, really read? If we all agree here, do I really need to read out each charge and why and how each charge is read? Because they're all the same charge. It's all homicide, so it's all the same.
When they were talking about that yesterday for like 2 hours, and it was sort of just like, it was like listening to Bill Clinton being like, just, you know what I mean? Where it's just like,
It was
what?
so bad.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, if you've already decided, what they were kind of saying is like, if you've already decided the larger charge, like, let's just not, you don't have to go through all the other things, right?
Right. And then I think I thought, wow, that's a brilliant idea, because the justification for that is that the jury, you're going to lose the jury. And he goes into talking about attention spans and how long you can hold somebody's attention.
Yeah. And
you're going to lose them. And I'm going to be honest, I was like lost. Jesus, like up until lunch, I was like, oh God, this is terrible.
Well, you were still mentally at the orgy, right? So it was hard for you
I've never left.
Yeah.
I've
So
never
it was
left the
hard for you
orgy.
to focus the smell and everything. You
never
kept a
left it.
little bit of the smell on your arm. But
When I close my eyes, I feel like when Rittenhouse was on the stand trying to say what happened that night. Like that's how I feel when I close my eyes thinking about the orgy.
And then there was a guy over here and doing something, and then yeah. Lots of comments about the crying episode. Although
I thought it was great. I think it was. I didn't take the LeBron approach on that. I mean, I guess it takes one to know one. So if LeBron sees that he's flopping, I mean, he would know best. But it didn't seem to me that he was faking it.
I don't think he was faking it. I think it's an emotional situation, whether it was a really dumb
I think
situation that he put himself in, which is like as far as I go with it, right? Which is just like, I'm a mom, so having a 17-year-old in that position, like it just feels like, God damn it, don't do it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
think like on that one, and a lot of people say that, like, what should he have been there? I mean, I use that argument for all of them. Like, should anybody be there? But you have like two idealistic types of people that were in Kenosha that night, and you had these young teenagers, young adults that were super idealistic about social justice and that they're going to change the world through, marching, right? And that's great. But then you had this other set of teenagers that were like idealistic in the fact that they're going to change the world by looting and vandalism and setting shit on fire. And then you've got this one kid who's super idealistic, and he was, because Kyle went to this little pre-EMT cadet thing in high school. He was a lifeguard. He went to a firefighter academy for young kids. I mean, this kid wanted to be in the military. He wants to be a cop. So he has this very pure and good, but far extreme ideals of how to save the world. And then you have these bad, evil people with this ideals of how they're going to change the world. And I think good and evil really met that night. Both extremes, right? Rosenbaum was definitely an extremist.
I think, it could be good or evil, or it could just be like really heightened, exactly that, like really heightened, just anger, adrenaline on anyone's side, right? Like,
yeah, and
it comes to a crescendo in that way. But like, even when there was like, in the beginning of this, when there's like protests out here, when I was like first moving out here and we were staying at a hotel, and there was like an impetus of like, for me and Ross to be like, let's go up there and like see. But I was also like, you never know how quickly things are going to escalate, because you could hear the craziness, like people are fucking fighting.
Someone did get shot and killed at Austin protests.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, there's part of me that's like, let's go up there and like see. But then if things escalate, you're in it. You're in it.
So before I started this trial, I kind of ignored everything because, again, I'm in the same boat as everybody else. Like, why go to something like this? Why put yourself? But once I listened to the trial and I got to hear Rittenhouse take the stand and listen to him about that night, I really started to understand who Rittenhouse was as a person. And when you see that, I mean, this kid wants to be a hero. He wants to be a lifesaver. And I think it was funny when the prosecutor said, "You're a wannabe." Well, I would rather my kid be a wannabe lifesaver and wannabe hero than a wannabe person that's lighting shit on fire. And,
Well, those are wannabe heroes too.
Exactly.
Right. Those are wannabe heroes too. And so like we're shitting on this kid because he's a wannabe, but he's a wannabe for good. But listening to him talk and kind of hearing the other witnesses talk about what Rittenhouse was actually doing for those couple of days that he was in Kenosha. I mean, I honestly think that was he super idealistic and grandiose? Sure. But there are a lot of rookies that I trained that have this same mentality that they're going to go onto the streets of wherever and they're going to change everything. And they're going to make the world a better place. And you always have to coach them through that. You have to be like, well, slow it down, homie. We're not going to change the world by slamming every crackhead in jail. You're just going to have a bunch of pissed off crackheads. And so Rittenhouse hadn't had that experience yet. Rittenhouse hasn't had somebody to coach him through it. He showed up that night trying. I honestly think he was trying to do good, but he was prepared for shit to go south. And I think when I talk about good versus evil, like this kid was the epitome of kind of good in that whole scenario. Like he was probably the only one that was there for kind of good. And then you had these guys like Rosenbaum who was there just to be a shithead.
Well,
and I think the shithead found the...
Sure. Well, the everything, the heightened everything, the adrenaline, everything, the anger, everything found each other, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But the other thing I will say is, the guy that went on the stand, the Gage guy, the paramedic.
Grosskreutz.
Yeah, the paramedic.
The gentleman who lost his arm?
Yes.
Yeah.
He lost
Bicep
his arm?
guy.
He didn't actually lose his arm, but Rittenhouse shot him in the arm and he took a huge chunk out of his bicep.
Yeah, like most of his biceps gone.
One of the injured, but he was he went out there. He was an EMT. He was an actual paramedic, right?
Yeah.
He went out there to help people with who needed medical assistance and did not have a gun, right?
No, he had a gun.
He had a gun.
did?
And
He
Rittenhouse shot him after he raised the gun at Rittenhouse.
And this guy, he was there as part of the protesters and rioters. He wasn't there to help. He was definitely an instigator in that crowd as well.
Right. He did kind of seem like he really cleaned it up for the trial.
But he didn't take his earrings out. He didn't take his neon green fucking earrings out.
But he
could have found some flesh-colored earrings for that trial.
He was using some fun big words and stuff.
About to say that, speaking of just all the ways the prosecution fucked up, letting him leave his weird earrings in for a Kenosha jury.
Yeah.
Like it's just...
Why wouldn't you have you've gotten the flesh-colored ones or ones that match your tie? Like match your earrings to your tie? Like
Maybe
do a
a
power
hair.
tie with power earrings?
Maybe a haircut. Look, I don't know.
Maybe a haircut.
But look, they really do all of those things. They
And he
really,
did
they
terrible on the
really
stand.
do. They go down to, they go down to that, what you're wearing, your haircut, like everything, because it
all
all
matters. I mean,
makes a difference.
I mean, that's why they don't allow criminals to come into the courtroom with their dressed out orange
For sure.
pinstripe clothing because it's going to sway the jury.
Exactly. So what did you think of his testimony in general? It just
it was awful.
Awful, yeah.
Like that's the one that's like where you coach and I get it because people get really nervous on stand, really nervous.
Right.
I've seen people like freeze, like where they ask a question and they just stare.
Yeah.
And then they're like, could you repeat that question? Because they're thinking of what they're going to say.
Sure. Or they just like don't want to mess up so bad. Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah,
I honestly think that he fell into that category. Like, I don't think he heard that question when he said, so he came at you and you had your gun out in his face. And he's like, that's correct. Everybody's like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That is not what we coached before you went on stand.
Yeah. So.
I don't think he meant to say it.
No. He a couple times was like, messing
But that's
up,
bad. And everybody's like giving shit on the prosecution for that, but that can happen to any defense or any prosecution. That's why it's like when you get a witness, sometimes you might have a really good witness, but you don't want to put them on the stand because they're just too stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. And you saying that you waited until all the facts of the case, it was interesting that we didn't get, I just recently got the full, even before the trial, but just recently got the full spectrum of what that whole situation was, because before that, as you know, all we were hearing from every news outlet was it was this crazy kid that took his gun down there and started
cross state lines,
shooting people, right? 17-year-old by himself cross state lines to kill somebody, like wanted to kill and whatever. So
he's part of a militia.
Right. So when you get the full spectrum of it, it does change things a little bit. It does change things for sure.
Yeah,
because you're you were, again, like you're 17, you know these people, Tansey. Like you were saying, you've trained them. You know these people where they're like, I got it. No training whatsoever, right? But he's going to give medical assistance. Yeah. What if somebody was really fucking hurt, right? But whatever. So you're going down there, you're going to protect, you're going to help the police, right? He's giving out water. Yeah. Like, you know that person where it's like, I got this. But he was not prepared. He was not prepared for what was going to happen. He's 17. Where's his mother?
Well, I would say that he was prepared in the fact that when it was time to get to work, he got to work, and I think he did a great job getting to work. I mean, if that was a police officer in that scenario, having the training, I to be honest with you.
Just as far as like being attacked and like how he was like.
The composure, the way that he kind of was thinking his way through things. He made a phone call. He was about to give
He went towards police.
He got chased. Yeah. He went towards the police. I mean, the way he shot, and this is what it is for me, is like when they were talking about being an active shooter and everything, I think once he shot the one guy, picked his gun up, and then everybody with their hands up, put the gun down, and then continued to run. I mean, that kind of shows you that this guy's obviously not an active shooter. This guy isn't. I mean, he could have just sprayed bullets everywhere if he was a real piece of shit, but he's not a piece of shit. He wasn't there to kill people.
Yeah. Let me be clear. It's not that I'm on his side or not on his side. Everyone's like, seems like Jesse's not on his side. I do think he's going to be found not guilty. I do think he's going to be pretty rich because of he's
going to become a fucking avatar for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just like a symbol for. It's so stupid.
He's going to make a lot of money because of how they painted him in the beginning. So he'll be fine. He'll be okay. What I'm saying is, I hate that he was,
I hate that he was there too.
I hate that he was there, but at the same time, like, we've all seen the video. Like, I don't know what I would do, but I do know that I wouldn't have gone, and I'm not a hero. Everyone knows that.
Me either.
Definitely not. So I would not have gone, but look,
I think if you look at the case, like through like a law perspective and like through the courts, the prosecution had a terrible, I guess, offense, if you will. Provocation, and that's what they used for this trial, was provoking, and I think that was a weak stance to put on. The fact that they had to change that midway through makes it really bad on the prosecution side. And but did Rittenhouse have a right to be there? And I think what a lot of people don't know, and maybe this will teach the media to not get this shit wrong, because the media is looking really stupid right now. Did he cross the line? Sure, but he lived 20 minutes from Kenosha. His grandma lives in Kenosha. His father lives in Kenosha. He's the lifeguard in Kenosha, and he works in Kenosha. So it's not like this kid uprooted from New Jersey and went to go get in the shit. Like, this kid has tons of ties to Kenosha. Was he in a militia? No, not whatsoever. There's zero evidence of that. Is he a white supremacist? No, there's zero evidence of that. And the media put all that out very early. Also, he didn't shoot any black people. He shot white people. It would blow your mind how many messages I got after our Rittenhouse breakdown Friday. People said, so where was the black person that he shot?
Yeah.
Because, we heard racism. This wasn't had anything to do with racism. This had to do. But did Rittenhouse have a right to be there? Yes, he did. Just like you have a right to go there. I have a right to go there. Does he have a right to have a gun while he was there? Yes. And the courts deemed that by dropping that 6th charge. Yeah. Because the law is written. If I take my son hunting and I give him a gun and I put him in a tree stand, he's allowed to have that gun in the tree stand, and he's 8 years old. He was around other adults. It's not our fault that the law is not written differently, that an under 18-year-old can't be walking around the street with a gun. There's adults with him. The adult that gave him the gun was present. So he is allowed to be there with a gun. Also, the barrel length of the gun was a big thing too. So he had the right to be there with a gun. He had a right to be there, period. Rosenbaum had the right to be there, and he has the right to self-defense. So if you look at it with all the evidence, he had the rights to do everything that he did. Not that he should have.
But he had the right to.
But he had the right
and
to.
That's when we're talking about a trial, that's what is in question.
Yeah. Rewrite the law if you don't like it.
What rights did he have? What rights was he within? And what laws did he break, right? So that's like it.
I think it's important to know as well is that like Rosenbaum was really the one there looking for a fight. I mean, he was yelling the N-word. This is a white dude yelling the N-word at a BLM thing, saying, shoot me N-word, shoot me N-word. You know, you're not going to shoot me, you N-word. What are you going to do with that gun? They staged that attack. They staged the fire that didn't really exist. And Rittenhouse went to go be a hero. And on the way, he stopped to help a girl with a sprained ankle or pepper spray in her face. Right. And then he still went, and then he got, of course, ambushed by Rosenbaum. But I mean, Rosenbaum had 5, I don't know if you know this or not, but he had 5 felonies. He's serving a lifetime probation. He'll be on probation for his whole life. Well, he's dead now, but
so he was on probation for his whole life. He was on
probation.
For
life. Yeah, for one, having anal sex with someone under the age of 15, a boy, for touching the penis and masturbating in front of an 11-year-old, for showing porn to another 11-year-old, for getting a blowjob from a 15-year-old boy. And then there was a 5th victim, and I think it was he masturbated in front of another boy that was under the age of 15. All at the same time, Rosenbaum was 26 years old. Mm-hmm. So the fact that Rosenbaum's even on the streets after fucking having 5 different boys.
You want to talk about the justice system being fucked up?
Yeah, and I think they were
jail.
And he was
and
like
now you got
mentally,
this dickhead. Yeah. You got this dickhead pushing around fucking flaming barrels of fire into police cars that have suspects arrested in the back. Now, I always say this is like, why does anybody give a fuck about that? Like, they're like, so when the prosecutor goes, and I hated the tone that the prosecutor used while talking to the jury. And I think that's probably going to hurt him because it was very condescending, making them look like they're retards.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, so let's, and this is his tone was, no, what did Rosenbaum do? Come on, he lit a trash can on fire? He lit a trash, so we're just killing people for lighting a trash can on fire? One, he didn't just light a fucking trash can on fire. He lit a dumpster fire, which is what my life is all about. But then he pushed that fucking dumpster fire into a cop car that had somebody who was arrested sitting in the back seat. Now imagine if that hero, which I believe was it Rittenhouse that put the fire out? That's kind of what started the whole thing. With the fire extinguisher? It's one of his guys did it. It was him.
Yeah.
One of them.
It was in his group because it was in front of the car source. Yeah.
Right. So if he wouldn't have put that fire out, you have a dude handcuffed in the back of a cop car now looking at this dumpster that's burning.
I mean, it's such a great metaphor, right? Because it was all just such a shit show.
Such a fucking dumpster fire.
Such a dumpster fire. It was really such a great metaphor. Yeah.
Whether it's a guilty or not guilty, one, I think it'll be a mistrial if he's found guilty. I think the judge has already alluded and kind of given hints that it's going to be a mistrial if he's guilty. And that was on Monday or on Friday when the judge was yelling at the prosecution for bringing shit up in front of the jury that he was already told not to. Mm-hmm. And then the judge goes, and well, I'll just stop there. And that's what the judge says. That's just the judge saying like, and there's going to be a mistrial because of that.
Because of that. So good job.
Even if he is guilty, the prosecution's terrible.
So I have a theory on this because this happens a lot. Prosecution being shitty. And you have experience with this on the police side of things, like being, having stuff you dealt with go to trial and all that stuff. I think a lot of times the reason the prosecution is so shitty, and for what it's worth, my dad was a prosecutor, among other things. He wasn't like solely a prosecutor, but he did for St. Louis County. I think a lot of times they are just out of practice because they don't go to trials that much. They plead out a lot. Like they don't deal with difficult trials very often as opposed to defense attorneys.
Yeah,
and that makes sense. Like plea deals and pleading things away and dismissing charges has always been just so confusing.
They try not to go to trial a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even when people really, really do. And that's the other thing is like sometimes they'll go to trial. The reason why they go to trial and you have all these friends that are like, man, I freaking got this bullshit charge and they found me guilty is because it was a bullshit charge and it was so easy to try that they're like, oh, we'll just get our quota in and we'll try this one because it's bullshit. This kid's it's not going to really affect his life. But then you have somebody that lights a house on fire with another human being on it that dies and then they only do 2 years for damage to property. It's really, the court system is really bad. And really,
is that the question that you were wanting to ask?
Yeah.
Before?
I think the prosecution in this case... I think the prosecution in this case probably is so used to going after bad guys, and now he's actually representing a bad guy, and he got
Right.
stuck with it. And I think
Right.
he's like, "Fuck, dude."
Yeah, because most of their cases are layups or they plea out.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's
I
not,
think he's just
they don't deal with difficult cases very often. I think defense attorneys deal with it a lot more, especially when you get a high profile one in a case like this. Like it's really
sure.
not, and I think a lot of times, especially
They
in
seek them out.
Yeah, and this is Kenosha too, right? This isn't even a major city.
They ain't playing nobody, pal.
They ain't play nobody, Paul. It's fuck. I really don't think it's a level playing field in quality of attorney a lot of times.
Right.
sure
Right.
that makes sense. I think and the jury. I would hate to go before a jury on this trial. It would scare the hell out of me. Because you never know like what they're feeling, and we've seen like some of the jokes that have been made on the jury, but I don't know. I think his condescending tone, me listening to it, and then even letting my wife like kind of hear it, she was the first person to say like, "Why does that guy got to talk to these jurors like they're in kindergarten?" I said, "You know what? I've been thinking that for like the last hour.
It's a tactic for sure, right? So it could go a couple
Bad tactic
for sure, but it
my
could go a couple different ways of like if you do make them feel dumb, then they're like, "Oh,
Do
I know?" Do you know what I mean?
I also get the vibe from the prosecutor that I don't think he, like, there's also a chance to me that I don't know that he knows, like, he might think he can't win, and he's trying to just win for Twitter and for the and for the
win-
news,
win
like win
in-
the public, win in the public,
Yeah. In
the public
make all
eye.
the points that make all the points that
At this
CNN
point,
wants him to
probably.
make and Twitter wants him to make, and then he can just be like, so,
Yeah, and
see?
even if they like objected or strike
it's not
it,
my fault. They were rooting for Kyle. Like
Right.
he's not doing it.
Yeah.
He's either not doing his job because he's bad at it, or he's not doing his job. It's like I forget what it's called, but people like purposely kind of self-sabotage when they know they can't win. It's like a common
they've
human
picked,
trait.
yeah.
they've picked a side.
Yeah.
And so they want to make sure that they're making that side happy, right? And not so much focused
Right.
on winning.
He can go home and feel okay because the public will be
They're
like,
not going to come after him.
yeah, they're not gonna be mad
Yeah,
at him,
yeah, yeah.
even though he's doing a dog shit job.
Yeah, they should definitely go after him.
They should.
For sure, they're. Oh, believe
I-
me, sir, they will be going after you. But
I think it's just like I can't like if you're looking at this case, to me it's so crazy that this guy looks so much like Littlefinger and then he talks like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Like we are definitely in a sim world because tell me that guy does not look like Littlefinger.
He looks like cheap Midwestern Littlefinger. Yeah,
Yeah.
like if Littlefinger was cast as a Wisconsinite.
yeah, I probably wouldn't have done the goatee if I were him.
Yeah, again, like the trial is really, really interesting, and it has been more entertaining to follow than probably any other case, like the one that's going down into Georgia right now that I've been listening to as well, which is the 3 white dudes that killed the black guy that was allegedly jogging. I think those guys are going to go to jail for a long time. But this trial, the Rittenhouse trial, has been so entertaining, and the judge has done a phenomenal job
I love
keeping
him.
the decorum in that courtroom and keeping it light and, like you said, entertaining.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's like a referee where he wants it to be all about him. You know, like some of these judges,
Yes.
they'll speak up or they'll say something like, "Look at me." No, this guy's kind of like
What was
slowing
the
it down.
Last one, I think it was a girl. I fucking can't remember, but it was this lady that was trying so hard to get her own show, right? Like she wanted to be, it was a bigger case. I forget what it was. But this judge wanted really bad to be like the next Judge Judy. And you could tell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
what was it? But yeah.
this case though, was just like naturally, organically entertaining from the start when the judge is like, "No, we're not going to call these guys victims because that's unfair." And then they were like, "Well, then you can't call them rioters and looters." He's like, "Oh no, you can as long as they prove that they were rioting and looting." So the first thing the defense
Yeah.
does is prove that they're rioters and looters and can say that they're rioters and looters the
Instead
entire
of
time,
victims.
but they can't call them victims. Yeah, because he wouldn't allow the prosecution to call them. He wouldn't allow them. He wouldn't allow the prosecution to call
Yes.
them victims. So the prosecution had to be like, "Well, the guys that he killed," or he had to.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you
that
killed-
really.
Thought that was kind of a weird call, by the way. Victim, like by the strict definition of it, doesn't mean like harmed maliciously or in a crime or whatever. Like
Right. But you have to think about words
where
when you're,
how the jury's going to
Yeah.
interpret it. I get that, but that was kind of I thought. I mean, semantics matter in court, but I thought that
Because
was
if it's a self-defense trial,
Got it.
then Rittenhouse is the victim.
Sure. So they wanted it to. I get what they were trying to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah,
That was
I mean,
a
I think
weird
it's
call.
But they were
fair.
still able to be, which the prosecutor would do. So the guy that you shot, when you shot and killed, right? So like he still
Right.
was doing that. You just
Yeah.
couldn't say
Use the word victim.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, that trolled, I mean, like CNN came out with that really quick. People started
Right.
tweeting about it really quick. And I mean, that was like day one of this trial. So, I mean, even from the first day, which is normally like super boring and super bad, it was already kind of exciting from there. And then, of course, you get into Thursday and Friday where the judge stops everything and is like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're borderline about to be held in contempt.
Right.
I told you not to say that to a jury. You said it anyway. Now you got to, and I've never seen a prosecutor argue with a judge like that in my life. And the fact that the judge allowed it, like, I guess because it's so high profile, the judge just kind of allowed that. If this was not that high of a profile case, that judge never would have let that argument through. He'd have been
Right.
like, no, you can approach the bench and we can talk about this in my office.
Right.
But to have his kind of power like undermined in front of a whole courtroom by a prosecutor, I wonder if he didn't allow that to happen to kind of show the jury like how bad the prosecutor is at that point.
Yeah, I don't know
was very
how you
unprofessional.
feel about it, but not that the judge has a side, but like,
Right.
Do you think the jury was getting pissed off? Like, God damn, dude, we have to get up again?
yeah,
Fuck.
probably.
Oh man, yeah. When I had an attorney get held in contempt of court, and I think it was probably after like the 8th or 9th time that they had to get the jury out, and the jury was just like, I mean, verbally, like expressively, just like,
Yeah.
and the judge was like, "Yo, that's it, dude.
Yeah.
Trial's over, mistrial.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a fine. You know, we're gonna. This is nonsense. I've told you so many times to knock it off." And I think that's what the prosecutors or defense lawyers have to do when they know they're losing. And I don't know if it's a money thing or what, but maybe they just want a mistrial to kind of save it for another time. Like I don't know. I don't know the
Yeah,
rules
and
on
get
that.
other things submitted that they could. I'm sure they were pissed about some things that they couldn't either submit or say or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And so you go, okay, cool, get it on. Although I don't know why. You
And I
wanna
kind of think
keep
it's
it going,
unfair that the jury has to go away for that because, like, I feel like so the damage has been done. The prosecutor said what he got to say, and they heard what he said, and now they have to leave while the judge tells them that they shouldn't have heard what they heard, and then they get to come back
Well-
only knowing what they heard, and then they're just said, "Hey, erase that from your brains." Like, I think it would have been better for them to see the
That is
argument.
always a tactic, right? Like I always like if I say something and then I'm like, strike that from the record. Like you've already heard it.
Yeah,
But
it's
then
already-
I get
damage
to
is
say
done.
like, don't listen to that. What about Sudoku lady, right? Sudoku. And then there was someone else. There was there was like 3 jurors that got dismissed, right?
Yeah, couple bad jokes in there.
Bad jokes. The Sudoku lady was my favorite because she was just like, meh. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but I mean, it's so long and it's so.
My God,
it's-
I've been listening to it. It's like I would be playing something on my, you know what I mean?
Yeah, why not? Like,
Drawing, Sudoku, whatever. Still
and
listening.
I think it's like I think in her and I think a lot of these jurors after some of these witnesses got up there, how can they not have already made up their mind? Like how can they not have already been just like, you know what? I've already made up my mind. Fuck this. Like
Sure.
those witnesses were so fucking bad. And that's your worst nightmare. Like as a police officer, as a lawyer, having, you're not allowed to coach them, but obviously you do, right? You like tell them, it's kind of like what we do before podcasting. It's like you want it to be natural. So you're just kind of giving like, basically we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about that.
Sure,
kind of
sure.
saying like hint.
Synops.
Do a
Yeah.
little research.
Sure.
So you don't come out there looking like a dumbass.
Right.
And then you get them up there and they're complete shit. You know, in this case, this is one of those cases where it's like, they're complete shit.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Yeah. So your prediction is what? By maybe 3 o'clock today, guilty mistrial or not guilty?
I think so. I'm not a bettor. This is why I don't bet. I'm not Ross Patterson. I'm not Boston Joe. I don't have the balls to go out
Sure,
and
but
say,
just say
like,
something
with
because then
confidence.
if you're right, then we can make a whole clip reel about it.
But like, let's not get on mybookie.com right now and take this
No.
bet. But if it's me,
You know, my bookie gets into some real fucking crazy stuff, but I'm actually not sure if they're in the
Almost.
Rittenhouse game.
I bet they are. Let me check.
Are you serious?
Well,
okay.
they have
listen-
the fucking Dog the Bounty Hunter line.
Oh, nice.
They had it if he was going to find
with
laundry.
That's right. Okay, well, yeah, look.
I
There's,
put a movie poster up this week on Facebook, and it just said, like, hey, we just did the Rittenhouse breakdown. Go check it out on favorstop.com. And I had a movie poster of like a Charles Bronson film, but the head of Charles Bronson was missing, and it was Kyle Rittenhouse. Of course, he had a machine gun in his hand. Facebook gave me a 3-day ban and a 30-day ad ban for posting just that picture of,
it's
which,
hard. Yeah, you can't really get into
crazy.
even the trial without having them tell you this is going to be offensive. This is, whatever. But
yeah. So I can't imagine. I can't imagine my bookie doing something like that, especially when Facebook
Actually,
is going
Bob
to
is-
give you a
We do have
30-day.
some odds on not Rittenhouse, but whether or not I believe I just saw whether or not Biden will deploy the National Guard.
We'll deploy
Well,
national.
they've already deployed.
Not for that. It's for to reduce shipping backlog. Deploy National Guard trucks.
Oh, okay. Because they're already, I'm sure, if they're not, if they've been living in the world, they've got all of that set up already, right, Tansey?
I love how they're like keeping that whole trucker thing like under wraps, like they're not putting it on the news at all. But there's like a fuck ton of truckers on strike right now.
Yeah, because that whole thing sucks.
Yeah.
And, it's starting to affect me. And so,
Yeah, right.
now I'm getting mad.
And there's no Rittenhouse line.
No Rittenhouse line. Well, okay, my bookie. I will say good for you then.
Yeah, they have a lot of other lines, including will the national average price of bacon go over $8 by the end of the year?
Yes.
Even
Oh yeah.
minus 120 either way, yes or no. So yeah, they got some
Woof.
interesting situations there.
The trucking thing kind of saved my ass yesterday because I got a smoker, but they couldn't get like rid of all these like pre-made put together grills at Lowe's, and they need to get them. They need to get rid of them before the next spring shipment comes in or
Sure.
whatever's happening. I don't know. The guy told me that it was all had to do with the trucking thing, and so he's like, "We really need these floor models gone." And I was like, "Yeah, but I didn't come here to buy that expensive a grill." And the guy was like, "What did you come here to spend?" And I was like, $250. He's like, "I'll give it to you for $270." And the tag said $449 or something, $450.
Tansey.
So freaking got a $250 grill.
Guys, we
I was like,
need
is this
to
a car
start-
dealership? Did Lowe's become a car dealership?
No, I just think we need to start hanging out with you. I mean, you just like accidentally go to orgies. You go into Lowe's. Like, I've never gotten a discount on anything at fucking
It's
Lowe's.
just haggling.
I've never even got good customer service until
Thank
now
you. I
at
love that
Lowe's.
you even had someone helping you. That's
So
what
I got
I'm
my
saying.
grill, went straight to Food Line, where I got my guy. I
with
got
all the best meats.
I got the best meat, and I smoked some cream cheese, some wings, and some potatoes.
All the best meats. I don't know what our equivalent is out here.
You guys don't have Food Line out there?
We have HEB, we have Randall's. So
Randall's.
Not for long.
not for long.
They have
Okay,
like
so
a going
food,
out. I've never seen a grocery store have a going out of business sale, but Randall's.
but
is
for
having one.
years.
Yeah.
So Food Line, I'm not sure how to really explain it, but I mean, what do we call it? The shitty kitty. It's sort
Yeah.
of like the lower end stuff. They still have all the same things.
Yeah.
It's just not. What is that here?
I don't think it's lower end, by the way. I think
Tansey.
I mean it says premium.
Sweetheart.
Premium Food Line brand.
Yeah, it's the lower. It's the.
First of all, Piggly Wiggly is far below Food Line.
Is that here?
Really?
No, that's in North Carolina. But like,
No
if we're
way.
talking
Piggly Wiggly's a step
grocery
up.
stores.
Piggly Wiggly is this institution.
Right here, the shitty grocery store would be like Randall's.
Randall's. Okay, I've never been, but
Which Randall sounds like a mini
Well, you
mart
can't
outside
have
of a
an
trailer
ethnic
park.
grocery
I
store be
know.
your worst.
No.
How's it what?
It's Randall's.
oh, actually,
it's
probably
Randall's.
people in here know.
There's some
HEB
bad-
is awesome.
There are some bad HEBs though. Like you can really miss.
No,
an
that's the
HEB.
thing is like that I want to tell people is like everyone here in Austin hypes up HEB, but I feel like that's the worst grocery store in Austin.
That's not true. You go to the bad HEBs. There's
Yeah,
so
what are
many
you
good
talking
HEBs.
about?
Central Market is different than HEB.
No, there's really good HEBs like south.
Tansey, HEB is like a cross between
Right.
Harris Teeter and Whole Foods.
You need go to the
Oh,
you need to go to the
God.
HEB
Yes, it
by my
is.
house.
Sounds
and
like a
Circle C.
fucking
It's
nightmare.
dope.
Yeah,
Not-
Circle C.
not
Unless you want to go
Yes.
see a bunch of girls
Central
wearing yoga
Market
pants.
branded HEBs, I will give it to them. They have
No.
fresh produce.
Different-
they have
different
like
store.
whole cuts of meat. They have
Different
cheeses from different countries that
This
I
is
love.
such a dorky fight
This
we're
is
having.
so dumb.
This is like the nerdiest fight I've ever had. But
This
go
just
ahead.
tells you-
Go
This
ahead.
just tells you where Giorgio lives.
Yeah, yeah,
you guys-
exactly. If you don't like HEB, you live in the ghetto.
No, I live in Austin proper, unlike everyone else in this
I
office.
know, and I have a huge HEB with like an amazing deli. There's a lady there making homemade tortillas right in front of me.
And you also have traffic.
There used to be the HB
here.
on Congress used to be 24 hours until someone got stabbed, and they had to shut it down. They're like, all right, we're closing at 11.
That's very Food Lion, right?
No, it's not. Actually, I was there the other day and somebody OD'd in the parking lot. That was kind of entertaining. So I'm like getting some firewood outside,
Tansey-
looking at the new Christmas trees. Dude's dying.
Yeah,
Dope.
Tansey is
Only
very
Food Lion.
comfortable in, how do I say it? You're
Food
very
Lion?
comfortable in ghetto type situations.
Yeah, well, everybody's a little bit more friendly there.
True.
You know what I mean?
Let me
You're going to get,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, that's where you get all the deals, man. Like, you know who didn't run out of toilet paper? The Walgreens in all of the ghetto. Like all of Southeast Raleigh, every Walgreens, every CVS, they all
I
had
love
toilet
that.
paper with no signs. And
Because
I
they
asked
were
a
just
woman-
like, they were cool with everybody
Yeah,
and
when
they
I-
just made sure that
When I'm in Atlanta, I exclusively go to Murder Kroger.
murder Kroger.
So this-
Because,
Yeah, go ahead on expand on that, Dan.
I mean,
Yeah, like what is a murder
what's
Kroger?
the reason?
Because they're always stocked up. No one ever goes to
Oh.
the Murder Kroger.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I asked. I said, like, can I get toilet paper here? And she was like, yeah. And I said, you guys don't have any signs on like how much
Yancy
you can
always
take.
does the voice too. Yeah,
And she's like-
boy.
She goes, what you talking about? And I said, well, there's not even a sign. I could just grab all the toilet paper if I wanted to. And she goes, oh, shoot, son. Ain't nobody around here give a shit about running out of toilet paper. We all got bed bugs to deal with around here. And I was like, oh, fair enough.
Tansey.
I'll have 2 packs of toilet paper then. Thank you.
We
He's
just got
been doing,
demonetized.
but yeah, he's been doing that voice from the beginning, though. He really has set his brand
I'm not allowed to do that?
from like his very first show. You know what I mean?
that was
Tanny.
that was a white Southern woman in Southeast Raleigh, that voice.
Sure it was.
Okay.
So
Okay.
here's what a food line is. In high school, my job was to buy alcohol for people because I had that military ID that was over 21.
Oh, sure. Stolen
Yep,
valor.
My stolen valor of
Stolen
purchasing
valor.
alcohol in high
Yep.
school, yes. And I was then not allowed to buy alcohol at this one food line because a teammate of mine's father was working there. He was not the manager. He was not the cashier. He was mopping the floor. And no disrespect to anyone who mops floors,
Sure.
but the father of a teammate of mine was doing that, and he stopped me from buying alcohol that day.
Oh, because you knew somebody. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that's your memory. That's your imprint
And I
of
feel
the
like that
shitty kitty.
Yeah, that encompasses the shitty kitty.
Okay.
Like you're gonna, yeah.
I got fired from the shitty kitty. It was my first job. I was 14, and my mom would drop me off there after school, and I would work there a little bit. And they used to throw away all the dented and damaged ice creams and stuff. And I'm a huge ice cream guy. It's like my one downfall in life. And so on my 10-minute breaks or whatever, I would go into that freezer and crack open the dented ice creams and just
Sure.
eat it because they're all going to throw it away at the end of the week. They just wait on this truck to come get it.
14. By the way, you were allowed to work then?
Yes, yeah, you could get. I think you could get. I think
get a
you
work
technically
permit.
work
Work
at 13.
permit.
Yeah,
I did the
I
same
had
thing
a-
when I was 14. I would push carts at Drexel Line grocery store.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
job when I was 14.
Yeah. So I and
Brag.
they were doing like a regional inspection thing, and they walked into the freezer, and I was just sitting there with a thing of ice cream and a spoon, and they were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "They're gonna throw this shit away anyway. It's my 10-minute break. Just getting a little cookies and cream."
Nancy. Again, we could
Fired.
talk shit
Fired.
with you all day. We love you so
All right, let me
much.
do my let me do my guilty or not guilty.
yeah,
before you
so
go.
I do need a prediction before we go,
Okay.
but what do you think? This is
Here's
going to be
my-
the clip if you're right, so do it.
I think it comes out today.
Okay,
which
around
is sooner
3?
than everybody thinks. I
Okay.
think it's probably around. Well, yeah, maybe three.
I mean, we
between
don't
3
have
and
anything
5.
yet. Yeah.
They're gonna wait till the last minute. I don't think they go more than one day on this. I think they find him not guilty,
Okay.
and then the shit show starts tonight.
Well, it's not really a guilty or not guilty. That's the question. It's more not guilty or mistrial, right?
No, I
Well,
think I
it's
think they give him not guilty.
possible.
I think they say it's self-defense.
It's
and on
possible
all the
to
charges,
be not guilty. I
Yeah.
mean, do we think that's going to happen? I guess.
Yeah, I think
Bob
he gets a
doesn't.
complete. I think he's gonna get a complete not guilty today.
Really?
I think not.
I
think
think
not guilty
so.
is more likely than a mistrial.
I
Really?
wouldn't bet on it, but even if they do get guilty, it'll be a mistrial.
Okay.
But they'll
Oh,
file
yeah,
for a
'cause
mistrial.
they're
They'll
just
file
like-
the paperwork.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think they've already filed the paperwork for mistrial. I think I heard that yesterday, that they've already put it into motion. He wanted to make sure it was on the record yesterday morning that they did file paperwork already in regards to mistrial. So
Now that's interesting though that Does the jury know that?
I think this was all before. This is like when they were going over jury instructions before, like what they were going to instruct the jury.
Okay.
Because the judge came in and was like, basically for 3 hours yesterday, was like, this is what I'm going to instruct them. Is this okay? Is this okay? And they just kind of did all the housekeeping stuff. And then now he's like, hey, judge, and also I'd like you to know that we did file this paperwork. I'm sure the courts haven't read it yet. However, it is filed and there is a motion for mistrial on whatever basis. He says, and the judge was like, oh, yep. Okay, well, I'll take a look at that too. And then we'll add that into, and he's like, well, he's like, you don't need to do it today. Just I wanted it to be on the record that we did file it. And he was like, yeah, we got it. We got you. So
All right,
I don't know what
guys.
that means because I'm not a lawyer, but we'll see.
Well, stay tuned. We got Tansey saying it's a full-on, out-and-out, not guilty. I'm leaning more mistrial just because, Lord, the world is watching. But it would be nice to have it buttoned up. But again, Sim World, not sure how it's gonna go. But thank you guys for listening to our Kyle Rittenhouse trial for dummies. I'm the dummy. Tansey is breaking it down for us. He just has a little bit more experience.
Still a dummy. This should have been the Kyle Rittenhouse trial with dummies.
With dummies, right?
That's what it should have been.
I know, but then it'd be like, who are the dummies? Who are they talking about? Who are they calling dummies? We really have to be careful, right?
We do.
It's a very polarizing situation. We're not saying we're on either side. We're just sort of breaking down what has happened from the very beginning, misinformation to now to whatever. So it's just the same craziness that's going on in the world, but love you, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on. You made it a great show. I mean, a lot of people were watching for you, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We'll be live tonight on Failure to Stop Night Shift call-in show tonight. So we'll be there with the Mint Mobile call-in phone. So give us a call tonight if you have any questions. It's always a fun show on Night Shift, Tuesday night.
Love that. That'd be fun if there was a verdict, huh?
It'll be extra fun.
It'll be extra fun.
We purposely didn't come up with like a title of the show tonight just because we were
Just
like,
because of that. Well,
if this is going to happen, it's probably what people are going to want to talk about.
Smart. Love you guys. We will see you Thursday for our last show before the break. Have a good evening. Go to iTunes, rate and review, and hit the like button. Oh, and there's a lot of Drinking Bros coming up today, right? You guys are doing basketball show.
College basketball next on sports, and then Drinking Bros at 2-ish.
Okay, so stay here. Don't change that dial. And good afternoon.